Hi everyone, Christopher Kai here. Welcome to the first episode of Exposed, where I'm going to reveal specific public speaking tips so that you as an entrepreneur or aspiring entrepreneur can use in your business. The first person up that I'm going to expose is Mr. Jeff Bezos, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, who also bought the Washington Post, who bought Whole Foods, and just an all-around phenomenal entrepreneur. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, show you a very specific video of him sharing a story, because stories are 22 times more memorable than facts. And I'll dissect what he did well, what he didn't do so well, so that you can understand how to become a better speaker, a better storyteller. Because again, if you are an employer that wants to inspire your employees, if you are an entrepreneur that wants to raise money, if you are a business owner that wants to find more clients, you're not going to do a great job if you're not a good communicator. I travel the world as a global speaker. I'm often hired to either talk about the science of networking, where when you go to events, it's a waste of time if you're in the wrong room. Even if you're in the right room, if you meet the people and you're not connecting with them. The other thing I talk most about is the art of communicating. Again, stories are 22 times more memorable than facts. So if you're not a great storyteller, you will never be a great salesperson. If you're not a great salesperson, sorry, you're not going to be a great business person. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen and share a little bit about Mr. Jeff Bezos, this specific speech. After this speech, I will dissect exactly why I felt this is a great speech. And let's watch the video.
A story that is somewhat legendary in our family. One of the things that Pop did one summer. It's a little out of character.
Pop is their grandfather.
The story you're talking about. So he really actually was a very careful, conservative sort of person, not prone to crazy acts or anything. He was kind of introspective and very introverted, quiet person. But one day he was all by himself. He had driven to the ranch and he was at the main gate to the ranch and he forgot to put the car in park. And so when he got to the gate, he noticed that the car was slowly rolling downhill toward the gate. He thought, this is fantastic. I have just enough time to unlatch the gate, throw the gate open. The car is going to drive right through, and those will be wonderful. He almost got the gate unlatched when the car hit the gate, and it caught his thumb between the gate and the fence post, and it stripped all the flesh off of his thumb. He was hanging there by a tiny little thread, and he was so angry at himself that he ripped that piece of flesh off and threw it in the brush, got back in the car, drove himself to the emergency room in Dilley, Texas, 16 miles away. And when he got there, they said, this is great. We can reattach that. Where is it? And he said, oh, I threw it in the brush. They drove back with the nurses and everybody, and they looked for hours for the thumb, and they never found that piece of flesh, something probably eaten it. So they take him back to the emergency room, and they said, look, you have two choices. You're going to have a skin graft for that. And we can sew your thumb to your stomach and leave it there for 6 weeks. That's the best way to do it. Or we can just cut a piece of skin graft from your butt and just suture it on, and it won't ever be as good, but the advantage is your thumb won't be sewn to your stomach for 6 weeks. And he said, I'll take option 2, just do the skin graft from my butt. And he did that. It was very successful. It worked fine. But the funniest thing about this story is that I have incredibly vivid memories, and we all do, of him. Definitely his mornings were completely ritualized. He'd wake up, eat breakfast cereal, read the newspaper, and shave with an electric razor for a really long time. Like, he would shave with that electric razor for like 15 minutes and while he's eating his cereal. And when he was done shaving his face with that razor, then he would take 2 quick passes over his thumb because his thumb grew butt hair. And which, by the way, did not bother him at all.
No. He was completely unfazed by it.
Unfazed.
So again, Jeff Bezos just describes a story about his grandfather. They call him Pops affectionately. And this is a great, great example of a great speech, a great storytelling. Because first, Jeff Bezos sets up this story by saying, well, Pops is a very conservative guy. He's not prone to these risky things. So he sets it up to tell you who the character is. And then he talks about Pops, describes a story about he's on a ranch. He's using body language. He's using his tonality. And then he even uses when he when his grandfather scrapes off a bunch of his skin, he's like, yeah, it pulls off his whole skin. And it talks about the doctors and the hospitals. So the whole story, you're enraptured and you're pulled into the story. And mind you, it's only 2.5 minutes of a story. And at the end, the punchline is, well, there Pops is shaving away for 15 minutes. Remember how he stresses 15 minutes with his tonality. And then 2 things on his thumb, as Jeff mentioned with his actual body language. And then the punchline is over. So 2.5 stories. This guy is the richest guy in the world. You can see why he's inspiring, he's funny, he's charismatic, but all these things you can learn yourself, but it's about understanding that stories are 22 times more than facts, and you have to lay out who the person's in the story, essentially ask those basic questions like, who's in the story, why is he there, when is this happening, what's going on, and where are they going? So you have this constant dialogue, constant awareness of what you're talking about, but just remember that this guy is one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, but he also has a rare gift of sharing stories, because I've met a lot of entrepreneurs, billionaires, executives, heads of states. Some of them are horrible speakers, but Jeff Bezos is not one of them. So hopefully that was helpful for you. And I'm going to go stop screen share. Again, hopefully that's helpful for you. If you wonder why even public speaking is important, public speaking is in my opinion, the #1 most important leadership skill you need to master as an entrepreneur. And this is why. When you go to a networking event, oftentimes it's a waste of time. You get a stack of business cards, which goes nowhere. You don't follow up, even though 80% of your success is based on follow-up. If you were to be a speaker, you flip that around. So instead of being a 1 person in a 1,000-person room, if you're a speaker, those 1,000 people see you. So being a speaker is what I call next level networking, where you'll be able to exponentially have more opportunities, whether you want to get more clients, referrals, fans, investors, build more confidence, have more clarity, be more courageous. All these things as a speaker is what you'll gain. And what I love to do is reference Warren Buffett, Mr. Uncle Warren. And he once said that his public speaking course when he was 20 years old changed his life. It allowed him to get married to his then wife, Susie. And it's a skill. Public speaking is a necessary skill, a necessity, he said, which will last you 50 to 60 years. And it's a liability if you don't have that. So make sure you really start thinking about why you should be a public speaker. Look at Jeff Bezos' stories. Hopefully that was helpful. Dissect that. Make sure you know that you have to share your story and listen to stories. Otherwise, you'll be forgettable. I don't want you to be forgettable. I don't want you to be the stack of business cards. So make sure you start understanding how to be a great speaker, because with being a great speaker, you're going to be a phenomenal and successful entrepreneur. Hopefully that was helpful, and I will see you all on the next episode.